Good morning. It's Friday. Another week has flown by, and my Live with Tony's on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's like I don't believe I get up in the morning and I think, oh, today's Friday, time for another Live with Tony, and the days just go by, and here we are, June 21st. I think that makes it our first day of summer. But I wanted to share with you the excitement I had from a 2-hour Zoom call I had with some researchers from MIT last evening. And it was, for me, I've been working at memory and teaching people about it for almost 30 years. And to have an institute of such credibility with such focus on looking at memory from a point of view is how does one take information in the short term and then eventually convert it so that you have it for long term. It basically transcends your life. It's like, okay, I've learned these skills, how to remember names and faces, or how to remember information about a person, or how to remember dates, or how to remember a list of things that I need to do when I go grocery shopping, or how do I just improve when I'm reading information for textbooks purposes or academic reasons or professional accreditations. How do I do that and take the fundamentals of memory skills and transfer them into long-term and to other subjects? And so Michael Dattino has just done an amazing amount of work over the last several years of working with various students in different capacities of professional accreditations and colleges, and really teaching them fundamental skills of memory systems or memory tools that have really made a huge difference in their academic performance. And that's what this call to me was about with our MIT researchers that have approached this with a possible study of how do you take information that's given to you today and absorb that information in a way that you not only can recite it back half an hour from now, but you can recite it back a month or 2 months from now. And so to that degree, the call was exciting to me because what the researchers were having to provide are, here's the test set of information that we can give to a person. We can study the person. In this case, it's a colleague of mine and a friend that I've worked with for a good number of years and believe he's got the most infinite capacity for long-term memory of anyone I've ever met. And how do you do this in a way that then demonstrates to the populace in the study that's being originated or initiated at this point? How do you then take what the student has learned and applied to a huge amount of information that then 2 months later can be converted into, and here's, I can answer these questions, or I know who that person was, or I can tell you where their birthday place was, I can tell you what their occupation was, and then loading up enough of that information to test it in a way that says this is real, like this is rather amazing that somebody could remember, so many hundreds of people and their occupations and relevant bioinformation about them and remember it 2 months later. And that's pretty significant because that then gets back to the learning to learn. And so Michael Dattino was a part of this call, and Michael has got evidence of this through a good number of people that he's been coaching through the USA Memory Championship online course, and how he has helped them at college level, at the professional accreditation, a fireman, a pilot, a military person, helping students, a neuroscience student, literary student, foreign affairs. I mean, so he's got a diversity of people that he has worked with, and he has taught them fundamental skills that they've been able to apply to their academic grades, or academic challenges, as well as the professional challenges of that. Well, how do you become a pilot, or how do you become somebody who's an expert on foreign exchanges and things of that sort? So he's diversified the skills that we teach through the USA Memory Championship, which was the whole purpose of the event. And so happened to be on a 2 hour Zoom call with a couple of the world's brightest minds and spend the time with them exploring how we can put this study together. It's just fascinating. And it was exciting to the nature of the dialogue that we kicked back and forth and the thinking process that we have to go through to make this a solid study that is going to be as strong as iron, posts in the ground supporting a building structure of 50 stories, so that as people look at the study and how it was conducted, and the participant then took it and then had to apply it to his life, and then was able to demonstrate it through the long-term memory process, I think is an exciting thing. And it brings me back to one of the events that we actually had initiated at MIT's request back in our year 2018, which is hard to believe. My God, when they say 2018, it's like, wow, it's 6 years ago. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, COVID blew us away for 4 years, so I guess 6 years ago isn't so bad because COVID got in the way and certainly screwed us up for a bit. But we're back, and what's interesting is in that event we gave people data bits of long-term memory, and they had a month to study 2,000 bits of information. And then we would put them on stage in the competition, and they would have to retain and recall or answer questions surrounded about this information, which then brought forth the concept that you could teach somebody this information on how to remember dates, how to remember occupations, how to remember critical lists of things that a person accomplished, who was in the Rock Hall of Fame, and what year did they get in, and what song did they sing in it, who was in the Football Hall of Fame, what was their jersey number, what was their career statistics. And so we could bring relevant information into the data sheets that the mental athletes had to remember in 30 days. And so we initially, in our first year of doing that, we gave them 3,000 it was actually 3,500 data bits. And it's like, wow. And the people that came forward at that time, we had conducted that at MIT, were just amazing at how much information they were able to then absorb in terms of the questions we asked them and how we cross-referenced the questions, and really made a huge difference in the outcomes of the event. And then we kept that going forward. Now, the only challenge that we had is we had people, and we did that in the summertime, and then we tried doing that again in the fall when we went to Full Sail University. We cut the data bits down to 2,500, and we started to bounce into, well, gee, we can do this, but my God, to remember 2,500 data bits, it's taking up time from school, or taking up time from my professional life, my personal life. And so this year we're probably going to be cutting it back. So it isn't the process that they can't do it, it's the amount of time that it takes them to do it, and the amount of data bits. So there's always that variable over how many thousands of pieces of information do you give someone to test a process that then you can throw questions at them and then they can answer it. It's like making them trivia experts, except, what's the data that you want to remember that's important to your personal life, so that there's that personal drive to what is information that I need for my life, my academics, my school, my professional life, my occupation. So what is information I need to know in terms of my occupation? And I watch these lawyers on television, and I'm like, God, they quote these laws and chapters and sections and this code and knowing that code. And I'm like, my God, somewhere they've got these codes all up in their head. And so how do you get normal people to be able to do that in their lives for things that are important to them? Hospital employees, tests to run, different drugs and chemicals and the interactions of, and how do you get policemen to know what the laws are as they're going about trying to create stops? What is it they have to go through to remember the laws that a lawyer is not going to then challenge and try to throw out and things? So all about us on a daily basis, we've got these globs of information that we're trying to consume, and how do we teach people how to do that? And so learning to learn is a fundamental principle of all of it. So how do we learn? How do we adopt principles that help us to improve whatever it is that we're trying to remember. And I clearly come from the school of, you know what, you're not born, in or out with a good memory at birth. I've seen too many of our mental athletes that weren't the best students in school and only wish that they would have learned these skills way back in school. They'd be a whole better off. But the good news about them is they're a whole better off in life today. So I say there's hope for everybody, and it's never too late to learn in a way that synchronizes with your own mental processes that help you be a better human being today. And that's what the Memory Championship is all about, and that's what's exciting me about this study that MIT is about to embark on. So I could go on, and I'll probably talk more and more about this as we go forward, because this is exciting, and boy, I appreciate Robert Ajamian at MIT as being someone who has believed in this and has moved this along, and he has just got to be one of the best scientists that I've had the pleasure to work with in the 30 years that I've done the USA Memory Championship. So with that, it's Friday. Got to remember to do this again on Monday. But it's Friday, and it's time for the weekend. And we've got heat wave in the Northeast, which happens to be where I am right now. But I had the month of May in Orlando to practice for it, so I'm okay with the heat up here in New York, and I'll be here for a little while. And I'll continue to do my Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays when it's possible to do so. So we shall see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.